Babes, I hate Lancelot du Lac. Hate the character. My name's Nadia Sayapin, and I'm currently writing a modern Arthurian retelling. So here we go. I've read a lot of legends. I've watched a bunch of them. I tell you right now, the only Lancelot that I accept is BBC's Merlin, and that is strictly because of Santiago Cabrera. Every other one can go to hell. Why do I dislike Lancelot so much? Well, for a start, he was pretty much brought in just to be Guinevere's lover. He was invented in 1177 by a French guy whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, poet, whatnot. And I admit, Guinevere was only created like a few decades before that, like earlier in the 12th century. So she was also brand spanking new. But there is some history here. So there had been talk of Arthur and his men. They were Celtic he was a Celtic warlord around the 5th century CE. So, like the 400 and something or others. If you go to Cornwall, everything there is Arthur's Hall, Arthur's birthplace, Arthur's this, Arthur's that. If you go to Wales, I cannot name the town, but apparently the largest collection of written Arthurian works is in Wales. Amazing. But where all of our legends of Arthur come from is actually the 12th, I think it's the 12th and 13th centuries, which in the 12th century is when both Guinevere and Lancelot were created. Now, England had a couple of queens, Joan and Eleanor, and I think it was Eleanor and one of her daughters, and maybe a granddaughter as well. Major patrons of the arts. Like they are throwing money at these minstrels and bards and whoever else. Now, these guys, because the Arthurian mythology is getting popular, they start adding to it because that's kind of the thing we do, right? Now, to please the ladies, they start chucking women into stories that originally had like Morgana and maybe one and her sisters, and that was it. So they start chucking women in there. And there were some really good things that came out of it. It was actually a really early feminist movement because at the time of, women were chattel. They were kind of sold and traded for lands, alliances, whatnot. Now, what happened is that with the Arthurian mythologies, women became prizes to be won, which is a fuck ton better than something to be bartered. Let's face it, that really is. Now, also at the time, it was very common for a younger woman to marry an older man, and then she would have essentially an emotional relationship with a younger man, probably a knight in her lord's entourage or a neighboring one, somebody, whatever. That's basically what Lancelot was originally. He was just the handsome young man that Guinevere fell for as she was married to a much older Arthur. But here's the thing, we know how he twisted it, we know how it changed, and I hate the cheating trope. It sucks ass because if I want to see cheating, I'll pay attention to real life. I don't come to my fantasy for cheating. I want the fantasy aspect of it. How sad is that? Now, the other major problem I have with Lancelot is that he's perfect at everything. The only thing he's imperfect over is, you know, cheating with his queen on his lord. I don't know how. Cheating with the queen. Don't like it. Takes two to tango and it's awful. Both of them. Awful. The other problem, like I said, is that he's perfect at everything. He's a fucking Mary Sue. He's a Mary Sue. Now we have people who, like the Mary Sue trope, happened because somebody created a female character who was good at everything. Why don't we have a name for male characters who are like good at everything automatically? Or do we have a name and I've just never heard it? Besides the point, doesn't matter. I don't like Lancelot because of that. Now, flip side, there is an author, Stephen Lawhead. He published, oh gosh, I don't remember when he published it, 80s, 90s, I'd have to look it up. It is the Pendragon Cycle. And it was bloody amazing. 5 books. The first 2 are actually about Merlin. And Merlin is the second book, and the first book is Taliesin. Taliesin in these legends is Merlin's father. Celtic bard. Let's not get into it. That'll take forever and a day. Amazing stories. And then the final 3 books are about Arthur. Amazing. Now, he went and looked at it from building it backwards. Okay, in the modern day, we say Lancelot is here and he's Guinevere's lover. Well, what can we realistically assume based on what we know of how myths and legends are built? That people exaggerate, people build on it, things get twisted. So he took it backwards and was like, okay, Guinevere had a cousin who was a good friend of hers, and he was her bodyguard. His name starts with an L and is absolutely unpronounceable. As I recall in my head, it went something along the lines of la, and that was his name for 3 books. But that I can accept. That I will accept. And thanks for sticking around this long. If you have, I have to ask, are you okay?